Okay, get myself some in the shade here. Welcome to this YouTube video on axes that I have used for spoon carving. So this is my current axe. This is the Granfors large Swedish carving axe, and it is one of the more expensive axes out there. Let me just run through what I have, and then I'll talk about the pros and cons of each. This is the first axe that I used for carving. It's clearly on a different handle than it was originally built for, and the handle is quite slight, and it has cheeks. Rather than being straight, it's slightly convex as it approaches the edge. I got this for a few bucks at a tag sale, and I used it for the first maybe 2 years that I was carving. Then I bought this axe from Robin Wood. This is one of his early models. His heads now have a little more material here, and his handle's a little different as well. I shaved down this handle because at the time it felt too thick to my hand. And then here we have I believe it's a Pirelli axe. I just bought it on Amazon, and I wanted to see what I would get for 30 bucks on Amazon, so I bought a whole bunch of different varieties, and this was the best of the lot. As you're going to find out, there are ways that this works that are just superior to the ways that these work. And one of the first things that I noticed when I started using it was that even though the length of these two, even though the Granfors is slightly longer than this axe from Robin Wood, and it's almost exactly the same as the Pirelli, because most of the weight is back here on the head, it is very easy to adjust this angle. It takes very little forearm strength to adjust the angle that the axe is addressing whatever you're working on. Whereas with this style of axe that has this fan-shaped blade, even though it doesn't feel like much any given moment, it takes more effort to adjust the angle like this. And not only does it take more effort, but it feels like the motion is exaggerated. So it's harder to get the really nuanced changes in angle that you get with this blade. And that's partly that has to do with the balance, with the fact that there's more weight back here than there is up here. So that makes it easier to adjust this. But the way in which these handles are not as far, you see how that handle sticks further forward? See how this handle comes further forward on the Granfors here? And that centers the weight of the handle, and it makes it easier to make micro adjustments to the angle of the edge. Not just easier in terms of less effort, but also more accuracy in what that adjustment is. These axes, because the weight of your hand is back further here, and because the weight of the head sticks out so far from where your hand is and is not as balanced back here, not only does it take more effort, but it's harder to get exactly the right angle. So when you're working with them, it's hard to get exactly the right angle. Now, Robin's axes come nicely sharpened. They're professionally ground, they're beautiful. The Pirelli axe, and basically every single other axe that I have seen coming fresh out of the box on Amazon, was very, very dull, and others had other issues with them. And I've since learned that Amazon is sort of a dumping place for all sorts of stuff, but in particular axes, where if an axe gets is defective, it gets bought as a lot by somebody who then will sell it on Amazon. So it perhaps shouldn't surprise me that some of these brands selling axes on Amazon, you buy the axe and the blade is very, very dished, or in some instances the whole thing is just crooked. The whole alignment of the blade to the handle is crooked. Now, it's not as though the alignment of this blade is perfect. The actual edge of this blade wanders a little bit, but and the whole thing is slightly dished this way. So I don't want to set up a false assumption where absolutely everything is perfect about the Granfors-Brux axe, or that everything needs to be perfect about an axe, or precise about an axe. It's just that certain things about this, the weight of the blade and the way it's balanced, works better. You'll also notice how much larger the Sloyd bevel is on this axe, even than on Robin's axe, right? It's almost twice as wide. And that width really helps you as you are guiding your cut down through the billet of wood, in the same way that the wide Sloyd bevel on a Mora knife helps you make long, straight cuts. This extra long bevel on the Granfors-Brux axe helps you make controlled, straight cuts. Now, something like this axe, like let's say you get an American-style hatchet. Part of the problem with American-style hatchets is that they tend to have cheeks, and I don't know any of the terminology about axes, but they tend to be both slightly concave this way and slightly concave this way as well. So this way and this way, the whole thing's curved, which makes them good at splitting and also makes them come out of the cuts easily, but it does make it more difficult to get a nice wide bevel on the axe edge. On the other hand, the weight is back here, so you are able to get more of the ease of adjustment. But you'll notice how one of the things that you have to sort of retrain yourself is when axes have different lengths from the handle to the edge of the axe blade. That means that it's going to encounter the wood. The further out it is, it's going to encounter the wood sooner than if I was using this axe, where it would encounter the wood later on in a swing. Just a fraction of a second, but so much of using an axe is being able to anticipate something that it pays to get really comfortable with one axe, and